Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode of In Alignment. Today, I'm your host, Kenny, and we have another special guest with us today. And today, her name is Andra. And so I'm going to introduce her just like as I've been introducing everybody. So Andra and I are actually, so what I feel about you, Andra, is that we're soul sisters. And so I met Andra, I'm not too sure when, but like 15 years ago at
It was
least.
like 2008.
Right? I'm like,
2008,
can
yeah.
we do the math here? And she is actually a friend of a friend of, hold on, I can't even think straight, guys, but
A friend
we'll
of a
get through.
friend.
A friend of a friend, yes. So we met, okay, there you go. We met through a mutual friend. There you go. And so I've never really hung out with Andra in the past. We literally, I think we only like went out together like a few times. We would just like hit the clubs and drink and pre-drink at her place because she used to live with our mutual friend at some point, and then just have a good time. But as I mentioned it to her, she's one of those people that when I met her, she felt familiar to me, and I was like, it felt like I recognized someone, but then I was like, I don't know, maybe the stars are not aligned for us right now, but I feel like we're gonna be in each other's lives somehow in some shape or form. But let me just make this mental note about like this meeting right now. And then we're just like partying. And so we recently reconnected when she came over to Vancouver with another friend of hers, or like, okay, yeah, they're just a gang of three people. So that I'm calling y'all a gang. And yeah, so we were connected then, and then we were talking, and I ended up finding so many things in common. It felt like we've been living parallel lives, and I was like, ha, I knew it. I just knew it. And so that was like very exciting to me, especially with like wherever I feel that I am in my life right now, and reconnecting with a soul sister was really beautiful. And then we've been just like talking and connecting ever since, and I thought it would be a really nice interview to have to see what has been her journey up until, to this point. And I don't know, like how you feel that what you were in the past. So I will let you introduce yourself and get this conversation going.
All right. Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because when you think that we met like 15 years ago, that's like
Right.
half a life,
Yeah.
but we spent so much time apart, like different cities.
Yeah.
But somehow, like when we talk, we realize that we actually have very similar paths.
Yeah.
Like we went through very similar things in the past
Yeah.
years, and it's crazy. So yeah, it's just it was nice to reconnect with you. And I remember when when I was in Vancouver and we were just talking, and you were Canny from university, and we used to party together. And at some
Yeah.
point you just mentioned, I think you mentioned my life mission. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh.
What is she on?
She speaks my language. And that's how I guess that's when we really connected, and
Hmm.
we kind of realized that we're maybe on the similar paths right now.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And it's funny how to see how much we've evolved since, because as you mentioned, the first time we met was like, we were just partying and drinking, and that was basically our
Living our
lives.
lives.
Yeah. And when you think about like the conversation we're having now versus what we would have talked about in the past, it's completely different. So it's nice to it's nice to see that sometimes you meet someone in your life, and there's nothing's gonna come out of it necessarily at that moment, but you never know what the future is gonna bring, and the reason why that person shows up in your life at that moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's almost like a bookmark. I've been seeing it like a bookmark.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because maybe if I hadn't met you in the past, maybe now I never would have connected with you in the way we connected.
That we do
So
now.
yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. So let's talk about, okay, so first of all, I guess I will ask you, like, what is your definition of in alignment or being aligned? What does that mean for you?
Oh, that's a good question. So for me, I think so for me, being in alignment, I think it's is when our emotions are connected to what we express. So when we express our emotions in a way that's when we express ourselves in a way that's like in accordance with our emotions and in harmony. So if we're feeling sad, we're not trying to show that we're a different person, like we're not trying to show that we're actually, a happy person. Or I think that's one thing
Like
for
being
me.
authentic in the moment.
Yeah, being authentic with how, like, with who we really are. And I think that's actually like it's our life's journey.
Yeah.
We never reach we never actually reach that point where we're completely in alignment. That's the work. I think that's for me anyway. I think it's been my work for ever since I started my self-development journey. So that's how I see it. And there's so many ways of achieving that, depending on who we are, on our interests. And yeah, it's just I guess each one of us has to find our own ways to feel that, to be authentic, and to live our true who we really are deep
Like our
down.
truest selves, basically.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And because we have so many as we have so many like hidden how can I say, like parts of us that are hidden, that are unconscious. And sometimes we act in a certain way because of something that happened to us like years ago, and we kept that emotion inside, and we react in a certain way because of that. But I think that's the whole, like, my self-development journey has been really about discovering those parts of me that are hidden and that I'm hiding, and that are making me react in a certain way in a situation.
So I think it's interesting that you say that, because that's like one of the conversation we had when you came to Vancouver. And it's like, so for me, I feel like I've always been an empath, and I've always been able to feel other people's emotions or like feelings, or like more like their energies. And what I have grown to see or to experience is, like, sometimes you might feel that someone is experiencing something, but even them, in that search that you're talking about of, connecting what you're feeling in the moment and finding either meaning or how to express it in the most authentic way in that moment, is like, it can be challenging. And for some of us, that's what we kind of aim to do. But for others, they're just like, they stay kind of unconscious about those things. So if I go back in time when we met, how were you living your life then? Because you're mentioning like certain things that, like baggage, subconscious baggage that you've always wanted, or you felt that you wanted to address. But in the way that I've experienced you in that time, I kind of felt that you were light, actually. Like, I didn't feel any baggage per se. Not to say that you don't have any, but for me, like, the way that I experienced you, like, it was very light. And so, like, what was your experience then? How were
Wow.
you experiencing yourself, really?
Not at all like that. Not at all like that. Not comparing to now. I feel a lot lighter now comparing to the way I felt before. So for me, those, like, that period of my life was actually it was right after. So I can say that my self-development journey started when I was about 16, actually, like 16, 17, when I started having panic attacks. And that's what triggered, for me, that's what triggered it triggered this whole search for, like, my, my subconscious reactions and my subconscious, like, everything that was going on in my subconscious mind. Because I didn't want to take medication for it. And the only way had, the only means I had to to go through it was by, I started reading books about self-development, studying, asking myself, where is my anxiety coming from, where are my fears coming from. And so when I met you, this was about maybe 3 years after this whole thing started. So I was still in that period of, like, I was still in the beginning, and I was still having, I guess, I'm not sure if at that point I was still having panic attacks. They lasted, I remember when I started university, that's when it had kind of stopped, but I was still having them sometimes. But yeah, I was actually, like, after a really, really rough period in my life, and although I wasn't having the panic attacks anymore, I was still, carrying a lot of weight that I got rid of since. Maybe some of it I'm still carrying, but yeah. So I was, I wasn't feeling connected to my body at all. It was yeah. If there's something that is really different from now, is really the connection to my body. So, connected to my emotions, connected to the way whenever I'm feeling something, like, in terms of being able to identify it. Like, this was not really something that I wasn't really there yet.
Right.
So well, maybe I was light in some ways, but it was a fun time because it was university and we were partying, but yeah, I did a lot of inner work since. Let's put it like that.
Do you feel that whatever was going on with you, to a certain degree, you didn't identify with it? It was almost like you feel it, but you don't identify with it?
It was more that I wasn't aware of it.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't aware of it. I was more under the impression that I had to be a certain way, and I had to act a certain way. I had to project a certain image. So, just push those emotions deep down and don't show them, and you don't have to show exactly how you're feeling. For some things, not for everything, but for some things, it was that's one thing that I had to work a lot on after that point.
I think I'm asking that question because like, in my reflection, so, like, first of all, I'm I said that for me, I've experienced you, like, in, like, very lightly. And I think, like, for me, when I think about it, my experience is I've always felt, let's say, a certain way, but I've never really identified with the way that I would feel, in the sense of, it's almost like, I don't know, it's almost like things were happening outside of me, and I'll be like, and then inside, because it would create this conflict. I'll be like, okay, well, there's a conflict here, and I feel like, I need to figure this out, but I don't feel that there's anything wrong with me per se. But whatever I'm feeling is not really matching what I'm seeing and how I'm experiencing, the external side of it. And so, but at the end of it, so basically I was just, like, thinking, I'm like, if you don't identify with certain issues or certain, problems that you're feeling inside, does it make more space for people to kind of experience you differently? Do you know what I mean? Because then it's not in your vibration. Whereas for someone who would identify with their their aches and pains and suffering, then they kind of come with that in their vibration. And then someone who's, like, near them, you would feel like being brought down, or like your energy is being sucked in, and you're like, oh my God, what is this person like? What's your beef with life? But yeah, I don't know what you think about that, because I feel that to a certain degree, that's how it's one of the reasons why you didn't have, like, a heavy energy. Even if you were going through some stuff, you still felt very light and very, like, approachable and loving, and, like, there's just, like, I don't know, an energy about you that just kind of, it's like you're bringing people in.
Yeah, well, I've never thought about it this way. I've never, because I didn't see myself that way either. I think it
Yeah.
was just, it's funny that's the perception that you had. But maybe I think that was a time in my life when I really felt like I needed to connect with others. So that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah.
Maybe I am kind of I'm also an empath too, so I tend to feel other people's emotions. I think that was actually something that was really present in my life, is that I would feel others' emotions more than I would feel mine.
Yeah.
And probably because you, like, whenever I would see you, it was always like it was a happy environment.
Yeah.
So that's just, I would just like blend in. But the downside of that is that when you're like in an environment that's more that that's more heavy, then it was easier to like get taken down by
Get sucked in, yeah.
get sucked in by the environment, the energy around me. So
Mm.
that's something also that I actually learned to control with yoga, because in yoga I actually I did my yoga teacher training a few years ago. And yeah, well, it was I'm not a yoga, like I don't teach it, but I did it more for myself, because it was more like a therapy for myself. And that helped me a lot with being sucked in the surrounding energy. I think that was something that, like, the whole, in yoga, the first thing that you learn, everybody thinks yoga is about postures and doing a handstand, or doing some crazy postures.
I want to do that.
Not that, yeah, right. We all want, but
right.
like it's not really about that. So the first thing you learn when you do your yoga teacher training, the one that I did anyways, was how to breathe. Like the breathing we have like several classes on like breath, how to focus on your breath, how to control your breath, because focusing on your breath, that brings your awareness to the present moment. And that's the whole point of doing yoga and meditation, is to be in the moment. So my instructor always he used to say, when you breathe, you can only breathe for now. You can't breathe for tomorrow. You can't breathe for yesterday. You can only breathe for now. And that's actually really useful. And I've been using it whenever I'm in a situation where I feel the energy is a little bit heavier, just coming back to my breath, like focusing on my breath. And that it's done miracles, really, for like, if you're an empath and sometimes you have issues with getting sucked in the energies surrounding you, like that's something that's really helpful.
Especially when you live in the city, or when you're around like so many distractions. It's so interesting, because I feel like we underestimate the power of breathing. Because even for me, that's something that I've learned through my meditations and with my spiritual guides, and they taught me how to breathe differently. And and I remember, like, the first time it happened, I thought, okay, I'm just breathing, but they really helped me focus on my breathing in the moment, and how to breathe in the face of fear. And that has been like one of my biggest, like, I don't know, epiphany, or like the biggest thing that I've learned, because I feel like we really do underestimate the power of breathing, but we can't repeat it enough, like really focusing on your breath and how to breathe. And I read a mine, I didn't read anything. I heard somewhere that apparently when we come to Earth, so as babies, we breathe better than, I think we're learned how to breathe differently as we grow up, or something like that. But we should be breathing the way that we breathe when we were babies. Have you ever heard something along those lines?
Yeah, because when you look at babies, they breathe with their bellies. If you look at a baby breathing. But whereas adults, if we're not aware of it, we usually breathe like with the third of our lungs. So we're basically using like a third of the capacity of our lungs. So there's this technique that's called the Mahat Yoga I'm losing my words.
That one.
Yeah. It's the yoga. It's the complete yoga breathing technique. So basically, you're laying down in shavasana, and you're just you have to fill in your lower stomach, then your mid stomach, and then your upper lungs. And you do that, you know, like you focus on it, and when you like, so when you inhale, that's you inhale in that order, and you exhale in the same order. And it's like when you're really relaxed, and if you're, because usually before you do that, you would just like take a few moments to like relax your whole body. And when you're really relaxed, and I've tested that, when I'm really really relaxed, I can take 2 breaths per minute.
Wow.
So imagine how much of the, and that's without like being like, I don't feel exhausted or anything. I'm not feeling out of breath. I'm just like breathing normally. It just comes naturally. So imagine like how much of our lung capacity we're losing by breathing like
short breaths, basically.
Short breaths, the way we breathe when we're stressed out, or most of us actually we breathe like that. So it's really, and when you think about it, we all, you know, we eat healthy, we exercise, like air, like oxygen is food for your body. That's what the body uses to break down everything that you eat, like the nutrients. So it's as important as the food you're eating. So breathing well it should be I think
a
it should
daily
be like
practice.
Yeah. And it has like a lot of power. It's very powerful. It helps you connect to your body. It helps you you know, it helps you relax, first of all. And it just you know, brings you in a different state.
It does.
Yeah.
You mentioned you know, for you, your trigger was like panic attacks when you were younger. But so this is the thing, I feel like we all have certain triggers in our lives that you know, are only there to serve us positively, in the sense of like, okay, when these triggers happen along our way, we're supposed to look at them and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. So this thing, I need to address it, or like, this is what it's telling me. But for some of us, we kind of wait to be in such pain before we address it, and for some people, they just kind of stay in that cycle of, you know, triggers. You're always being reactive, and then you don't want to do anything about it. So for you, what was the feeling that, even though you were going through that, like what made you decide to actually seek self-development or like healing or alignment, as opposed to just staying, you know, where you were, or like taking medication or whatever it was? Like, what is it for you that you were like, no, this is not right? Or
I think it was really the pain of it. It was really, if for anyone who's had panic attacks, especially when you're, well, I guess, I don't know if age matters, but I was pretty young when it started. And for me, so there's different types of anxiety. Some people have it when they're in crowds. Some people have it because of a phobia. For me, it was I was scared of dying. Like I would feel like I was having, I would be like convinced I was having a heart attack, like convinced, and to the point that I had to go to the emergency room like a couple times. And at some point, like one of my visits, the doctor said, well, you know, you're having panic attacks. And so he gave me some medication. And he said, just take this and try it for a week. If it, you know, if you still have panic attacks in a week, come see me, and you're going to see a psychiatrist. And to me, that was like, okay, psychiatrist, like, you know,
red flag.
Red flag, you know. I was, oh wow, okay, so I'm there. And so I tried the medication, and it was just, you know, it would just knock me, like it would knock me out completely. I would just sleep. So I wasn't able to function. Like you can't function when I couldn't function. Maybe the dosage was not, obviously it wasn't, probably not, yeah, it wasn't the right dosage. So
just to do a little sidebar here, I've had a rash, and I was prescribed some medication, and I told Andra at the beginning of it, I'm like, listen, I might feel a little bit high because I haven't taken any medication in like 15 years, and so my body is like strongly reacting. But I told her
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
stopping this medication. Like for me, that is my flag. The moments where you bring chemicals into my body, I'm like flags, flags,
We're
flags.
just gonna do a podcast before, so like a funny
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah, exactly. So that's why I'm laughing.
So I wasn't. Unfortunately, my side effects weren't as good as yours.
That's
But
what my friend said yesterday. He's like, I want to have what you have.
yeah, you know,
Oh god.
share it.
So
No.
yeah, I'm not finishing my prescription. So guys, if you need any, just hit me up. Just kidding.
Uh,
So your flag, psychiatrist,
so yeah, and
medication.
then the medication, and it was really like it was not a good a good I wasn't in a good state when I would take that medication. It would just like knock me out. And I'm not someone who I haven't really I'm like you, like most of my life I've been healthy. Like I hadn't really taken any medication for,
A
except
while.
like Tylenol and
Yeah.
things like that. But so that, like, to me it was just okay, there has to be another way. Like I can't be like seeing a psychiatrist, going on medication, and there has to be another way. And I think it's also like, it's funny because I think that the challenges we're giving in life are, they're purposely designed for us.
Oh, totally.
Because I mean, I know I've always had this attitude of like optimism. I've always known I've always known there has to be something better. There has to be something every time I'm in a situation that's not, ideal. I'm always trying to find solutions and to find better ways to deal, even if they're not conventional ways. Like even if I'm going to be looking for something that's not like the mainstream, like in the mainstream thought. So I think that's what made me like it encouraged me to go look for something else. And I was, I guess I was also I'm a curious person by nature, so I think that helped me a lot too. So I really think that, to me, like I was given that specifically to to get into self-development, to go and like search for like what's going on inside of myself, like in my subconscious. And so that's like that's what, I guess that's what triggered it. It was really my state of like optimism and knowing that there has to be a better way. So I found a support group, and in the support group we would do like, relaxation techniques and just sharing with other people who were having similar experiences. And that was really helpful too. And, on my own, I started meditating. I started reading different books. And I got into, I ended up getting into yoga, meditation, and it just snowballed.
I feel like it's well, these days I've been feeling like we all come with certain gifts, and and we forget what those gifts are. So we kind of, I don't know, design this life to trigger us in awakening those gifts, or like remembering those gifts to kind of also remind you of what you came to do on earth, right? And for some of us, we kind of like pain and suffering, and that's the path that we choose. But what usually comes is like in a very loving way, and we just don't see it because love, I feel like love is something that comes to us so naturally that sometimes, because of the way that the human experience has been designed, we don't feel it sometimes. And it's like it's almost like quiet down, or and then you have to create this whole contrast for some reason to remind you that, oh yeah, okay, I am loved, this is not how I'm supposed to be feeling. And then you kind of, I guess you inevitably go onto your path because that's how you designed it in the first place anyways.
Yeah, and I think you said the word contrast. That's what it is.
Yeah,
It's really like negative. Everything negative that we experience is really a way for us to go look for the positive, go look for like the other side of it.
yeah,
It's like the yin and the yang.
yeah.
We're looking for the other. Because if we wouldn't experience pain, how do we know what pleasure is if we don't experience pain? So obviously we have to go through these these negative experiences. And that's why it's the important thing is to find like alignment, because when you're in alignment, you don't experience an over you don't experience like an overdose of pleasure, and you're not experiencing an overdose of pain. It's just, you're just feeling like optimal.
Yeah, and yeah. I'm like thinking about this rash again, because you said, how you naturally are. You're like very optimistic and you look for solutions, and you're going to look for the right way of doing things, or you're going to look for, even if it's not in the mainstream thought process, as long as it's going to work and address it, then you're going to go for it. And I have a similar mindset. However, I also, like, for me, I've come to know that my ego is very dramatic. And when I got this rash, like, I'm going back into like the thought process of it, because I was like, oh my God, you have to leave. You have no permission to be in my body. I don't know where you came from and all of this. And it's just like, but I'm also observing my thoughts, and I'm observing like this little thought, or like this little being that's in my head. And I'm like, so what are you doing exactly? Like, why are you being so reactive? And that's the ego. The ego is always like reactive, right? But then after I took the medication, and then I started feeling disaligned, because I was like, oh my God, I don't understand, like, why we put these things into our bodies. Like, you're numbing something, but then you're giving yourself something else, and it doesn't feel good and it doesn't feel right. And I'm like, yeah, it's just like a testament, or like a reconfirmation that, I really don't like drugs. Like, I don't like pharmaceuticals. And I also honestly believe that we have the power to heal ourselves. And I've been just like looking at my rash and just sending it love. And I'm like, listen, I know you're here to remind me of something. I know you came here with a purpose, and it's fine. I completely acknowledge and accept you. And, let's have a conversation. Why are you here? Why are you here? And, I've gotten my answer finally yesterday, and that's when I decided to stop the medication. But I'm also like learning again, like different ways to heal ourselves, because when it comes to like, maybe like smaller things, or like lighter things like headaches or inflammation or whatever it is, I know how to navigate through that. But this is the first time I've ever had any rash like this. Like, I don't even think I've ever had a rash, but it was like so dramatic. But again, I think it's like, for me, another way of finding like my alignment and reconfirming, okay, like, I do believe in these things. Like, this is what I chose. And yeah, let me keep going on this path. And then yeah, so I don't know, like, at the end of the day, I feel like it has brought me, a great learning curve. Did it need to happen that way? Nope. And this is something that I also believe, like, we do not need to attract pain and suffering and all that to understand certain things, And that's why I really want to like share different tools and share different stories, so that people can just listen to these stories and be like, okay, well, this is where I'm at in my life, and I resonate with this person, and she did this or he did that, and I don't want to suffer. Like, what is your idea of suffering? Like, what's your relationship with pain and suffering, actually?
I think suffering is, and this is what I've been realizing a lot lately. Like, in the past few months, I've done a lot of like shadow work, and that's what one thing that I've come to realize is that pain is actually, like you were saying to your rash, why are you here? You're in resistance. Like, pain is just resisting what actually is, because a rash, when you look at it, just like a rash or some event that happens in your life, we say it's something negative because our ego is saying it's, we have to label this thing as being something negative. We've been told that a rash is something negative. But when you look, some other cultures, they actually see like I think more Eastern cultures, they see like colds as a good thing. Like, here, having a cold is like
the end of you.
it's the end of you, yeah, because you can't go to work, you can't function.
Yeah.
But in other cultures, it's actually you're clearing stuff. Your body's like cleaning. So it's really in how you see things, and like pain comes from seeing something that's just, when you look at, when you observe like everything that's around us. If you look, like, let's say you look at a tree outside, you don't label it as being like good or bad. You don't have any resistance for a tree or for a flower or whatever you're looking at, a rock. But you look at a rash and you say you shouldn't be here. Or you look, sometimes you look at a feeling that you experience, and let's say you're jealous, or you're feeling sad, or you're feeling angry at someone, and you label that as being something bad because your ego is saying you should not be feeling like that. But in reality, it's just a feeling is just a feeling. So a rash is just a rash.
Yeah.
It's just something that is there. Don't label it. Just talk to it. Ask it why it's there. And it can go away.
I befriended my rash.
There you go.
Yeah. But it's such a good reminder because like I don't know if you did say that you believe that as well, but I do believe also that, when we are sick, quote unquote sick, we are actually getting better. And I've always kind of felt that way. And I think it's been challenging for some people who are in my life, because sometimes they'll be like, okay, but you're not well. I'll be like, no, I'm actually well. This needs there's something in my body that needs a release or that needs expression. And it just happened to be coming out as this, but I'm actually not sick. And then, but from the exterior and then from a different culture, like people would look at me or be like, yeah, but you're not doing well. You should take this medication. And this is like the other reason why I don't like taking medication, because I feel like it's not doing me well, because it's just numbing. It's a thought process. If you're taking something external, and then there are different degrees to these things, of course. But for me personally, like with colds or flus or things like that, and then you're taking something like a medication, it's like a thought process of not, of numbing our feelings and numbing, that connection to our divine self, or our greater selves, because then it puts something in your body, and then it kind of tunes out those, that little voice that is always there with you, that usually guides you. And then so when I got this rash, I was like, it was interesting for me to observe that there's another layer. It's like there's always like a deeper layer, right? And I don't get triggered by people. Like there's nothing really external to me that can trigger me, but I trigger myself. Like clearly this rash came here to show me that, And it was like, oh my God. But again, because I've done like certain work, or I am somewhere I feel like very comfortable with myself, I knew and I had trust that in due time, I will find the answers, and in due time, it will be fine. And I knew that I was going to accept it at some point, but I also don't, stop my ego for having its reaction. It's like, okay, if you want to trip out, you go ahead, you trip out, you do you. And then I know you'll come back to me anyways. So it's fine,
Loving your ego.
I honestly, I always tell people, I'm like, I love my ego like no one's business, because it's very entertaining, first of all. It's hilarious, and she's really cute. I just love her.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I think, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you, like, what's your relationship with your ego?
I'm not there yet.
You're like, I'm going to kill mine.
Sometimes it's not always easy to love, but actually that's, loving the parts of ourselves that are feeling a certain way. I think it's not always easy, but that's what I'm working on. I've been working on that for like the past year. I think, and it's my main focus now. Whenever if I'm meditating on some emotion or something that's going on, I always try to love that part of me that's feeling it. Like love the part of you that's feeling that, or love, if it's something that, let's say if it's an emotion that's coming from your childhood, a lot of the time it is, if an emotion comes back, like, repetitively, just going back in your memories and loving that part of you who's feeling that emotion. That's and it's super powerful. It's crazy how powerful it is to love the part of you that's feeling angry at someone, or to love the part of you that's feeling like left out or sad or whatever it is, like jealous. Like it's between you and yourself anyways. But because we've been taught to push down those
emotions
those
or
parts
that
of ourselves,
expression, that type of
yeah,
expression.
we block it. So we block that part of ourselves, but it's still part of us. And if we're feeling it, it's because it has to be expressed. It's just there. So
it's just energy looking for an expression. That's it.
Exactly. And when you let it flow, when you let it, like, when you look at it and you observe it without judgment, it's gonna go away within like 5 minutes. And then you're free forever from that specific thing. Like, it's crazy how, it doesn't take much. It just takes to like go inside, stop for a few minutes, like put your phone down and just go inside and be with yourself for like 10 minutes, really, or more.
Or more for some of you. A whole decade. Oh. So I was just wondering, like, in that process of basically meeting yourself, right? How do you feel that I guess it's like it's changed you in the way that you deal with other people or other situations or circumstances? Or is it something you feel that you're still kind of aiming for? Or did you even notice any change or any difference in your interaction with the outside world or like the external things, part of yourself?
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. It's changed a lot how I interact, and part of it is not being so affected by outside events, like outside circumstances, being more. I feel like I'm more able to observe things that are happening without letting them affect me. I don't do it 100% of the time, and it's constant work in progress, but that's like the most, I feel like that's I guess maybe I'm like you used to be when we mentioned that you were, when we met before, back in the days, you were just like looking at the exterior world and just being all zen and peaceful inside. I guess that's
yeah
that I think that more and more, like the more and more you do like work on yourself, the more and more that state becomes like easy to attain. And there's always going to be challenges and that are going to come up and stuff that's going to trigger, but it's easier. I feel like, yeah, exactly. Embrace them. Embrace the challenges, because they make you grow.
They do. They do. And they're all a matter of perspective. Like, that's the thing. It's like, and even everything that we feel and fear or experience, it's all a matter of perspective, really.
Yeah, it's how we see things. If we see something as a learning experience, then instead of a negative event, it's going to help us go through it a lot easier.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, my latest perspective has been, so Andra invited me to her meditation group, which is pretty awesome and filled with lovely people. And what was I saying? Yeah, so I feel like this, in the spiritual world, and I'm also like, I used to be like that too. Like, we always want to do some work, and it's like, oh, I need to work on myself, and I need to do this thing and address this thing. And I feel like maybe like probably this summer, my perspective has changed from, I don't need to do work on myself. I just need to focus on how I want to feel, and then focus on bringing more of that energy. And then everything else will just take care of itself. Like, literally, this is how I've been feeling. And because then that's the perspective and that's the feeling. Even if you are working on yourself, or even if you're, there's a challenge that comes like in your way, or like for me, this rash, for example, it doesn't feel like work per se. It might be work, it might be self-work, but because it's not that perspective, for me, it's just like, I don't know, I just focus on the good feelings, and it's a reminder. And then with my intentions, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, so I can love this rash as well too. Like it's not, it's I don't know, it's just like, I guess it's like a different, you just experience things differently, because then things don't feel like you have to work on them consistently. Do you know what I mean? And you can just like focus on feeling and feeling good, and attracting more of those feelings. Does that make any sense? Am I
Yeah,
making
I
sense?
think, yeah, no, I totally, totally makes sense.
I'm like, so many feelings, so many feelings.
No, I get you. I get you.
Cool, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I think it's like it's a matter of where you're at in your life, really. Like for me,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like it's really, it's been, I guess, with everything that's been going on, the fact that it hasn't been a super normal year. Maybe that's what triggered that for me, because
Mm-hmm.
obviously, like most of us, I was affected by the everything that happened. But I think it's, yeah, there's different, and I don't always do work. Like I don't work on myself like every single day. I have like days
Mm-hmm.
where I feel that I'm just gonna enjoy, go with the flow, and just
And that's
feel the
all
good
right.
feelings, and it's
Yeah.
all right. But sometimes there's more focus on that kind of work, and
Mm-hmm.
it's once when you're in that period, you just honor that and be with it for as long as it has to be. But I think it's like for me personally, I just feel whenever I have to do it, like whenever, if I'm going through a period where I know that I have some emotions that I want to work on, I'll just I don't feel like doing anything else, or I'm
Mm-hmm.
feeling like a little bit cranky, or so it's, to me, like that's how it shows, and that's how I know that, okay, maybe let's meditate and see like why this is coming up. And yeah, and then
Definitely.
there's other periods when it's just, yeah, it's just easy and just enjoying life, and
Easy peasy, free
yeah,
flowing.
exactly.
But I think, yeah, you did mention something really important there. And it's like, it's really like to be more gentle with ourselves, to be more kind and gentle with ourselves, and honoring ourselves in each moment, and being okay with that. Because um, I know that I was like definitely not that gentle back in the days, because I have this tendency of, I don't like being reactive. I always want to be proactive. And so I have this underlying thought process of, I need to dig deep before anything happens, right? And but what I've learned through that process is also like, wherever you are, it's fine. Just honor that moment. Don't stress about it. And I think it's like easy sometimes to say it, but honestly, like, it comes back to breathing. Just if you're being triggered, if you're experiencing something, if you're shouting when your environment is telling you it's evil to shout, if you're loving when your environment is telling you no, you need to have a certain distance, if you're any way that is opposite to your environment or your surrounding, and then you find yourself in that conflict, it's okay. Just allow yourself to react however you feel you need to react in that moment. But I think it's also a good reminder to to think, or to remind ourselves that, just take a little distance, breathe in that moment, and be okay with how you reacted. There's absolutely nothing good or bad. We like to label things for, our own sake, and for the sake of the ego that needs to process things. But there's really nothing good and bad, and things will be good and bad as we see them, as we experience them, as we feel them. And that's why it's always like that conflict with someone else too, because your definition of right or wrong is different from someone else's. So with that said, is there like, how do you feel about the bigger being that you are, and do you have any goals towards that being, or do you even think in terms of goals? Like how, like what's your process in relation to the you that you are now and the you that you feel that you are?
Oh, well, I'm still, yes, I'm still in a long process, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I like right now, I'm working towards my being more and more in my purpose, my mission. I
Mm-hmm.
still feel that it's something that I have to uncover. It's not,
Mm-hmm.
I probably not doing exactly what I came here to do. Well, I am, because we're always in the
You
right place,
always,
but
yes.
we're always like where we have to be, but
Yeah.
that's my goal is to discover that, pretty
Your
much, is to
highest.
discover my highest goal. And I know, like, I do know, do know some parts of it, and I know
Mm-hmm.
like some of the aspects of it, some of the things that bring me that make me feel good, feel in flow. But I feel like that's right now, that's my main goal,
Mm-hmm.
is really to discover that part of myself that came here to do something more than, you know some that came here with a mission.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, you probably can relate to that, because I know your
Definitely.
mission is so important for you too, right?
It's always been I feel that's always been like my guiding force through everything. And, first it was figuring out what that mission was. And then once I felt that I did find it, then it was all about, okay, now I need to be doing these things. And how do I manifest this? Or how do I make this a reality or whatever? And now it's just like, well, I know that I'm doing it anyways. So let me have as much fun as I can, expend as much as I can, create as much as I can, because at the end of the day, that's like, I feel like that's one of the highest ways that you can really tap into your potential and really align yourself with like the energies of creation, because you're just making more space to be in flow with the energies of creation. And creation does just that. It just creates
Hmm.
all the time, right? And then anything else that flows through that is just like you experiencing the higher, I don't know, your highest self, or like what life has to bring you as,
Hmm.
being both human and a spiritual being.
Yeah, I
And
think
yeah.
that's something that I can learn from you, the enjoying yourself more, enjoying the process more.
I got you, girl. I'm still I'm
Yeah.
still right there. Like I want more. Basically, I want more. But honestly, yeah, it's definitely a beautiful thing, and that is part of my mission too.
Yeah,
you know.
it's hard. It's hard because we're so used to. I mean, for me, we're so used to seeing in terms of like, okay, when I get there, I want to reach
Mm-hmm.
that goal. But it's actually I had this thing that came to me a few days ago in my meditation. It was savor the steps,
Mm.
savor the steps, and that was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's what I need to do more of.
But
Enjoy each step.
I
Yeah.
thought you get lost in the steps, because we had this conversation before.
Yeah, but because of that, I put a lot of pressure on myself, because it's true that I
Um,
do enjoy, like when I enjoy to do something, I really get lost into it, to the point that I lose track of like the bigger
the
picture.
bigger
But
picture, yeah.
I think I blame myself a lot for that. So,
Mm.
because I can't, because of that, I can't achieve like the bigger picture. So I get
Mm-hmm.
lost in, I'm a very curious personality about like different things. I like to, learn different things. And so sometimes like that gets me lost. So I learned
Mm.
something for the pleasure, for the fun of it. But then, how is that helping me contribute? How am I using that to get to my goal? Then that's a different story.
You're like, where was I going again with this?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's my little challenge these days that I'm working on. But hopefully, it's gonna. I know it will. It will come to something soon. It
It
will.
has
Yeah.
already. It
It will.
has
Yeah.
already. Yeah.
It is. But
It's just a matter of you aligning with it.
exactly.
Andra and I were having a conversation recently, about how we experience like going going through a process, or like when we are creating. And for her, she tends to get lost, like as she mentioned, in the process of it, because she takes like so much enjoyment in it, and then she loses the bigger picture. Whereas for me, it's the opposite. I have such a big picture type of mentality that sometimes I don't understand like the in between or the process. And so this is where we felt that we can really complement each other, because I'm learning how to really enjoy the process of things and keep grounding myself in the process, in the steps of things. And then for her, it's like, okay, so how can we bring you to focus? Like, this is great, you're enjoying these things, but remember, where are you going with this? You know, where are you trying to go?
Yeah, I think we have a lot to teach each other.
Definitely. Oh yeah, definitely.
That's yeah, and it's crazy because when you were talking about it, I was like, oh my God, because you were talking about your, you know, the fact that you see the whole process as like a weakness. I'm like, no, that's like that's amazing. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's all a matter of perspective. That's
yeah.
why we're all different, so we can work together, cooperate.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what I truly feel. It's like we're all little walking dictionaries, you know, and it's like, hey, what have you learned? Because I'm struggling with this, and what, let me show you what I've learned, and maybe you might learn something too. And I feel like it's a much more beautiful process, or more enjoyable process to have that perspective than, you know, the everyday rat race. I can't even speak right now. It's like now all my languages are just like blending and melting together. These medications, I tell you. So bear with me, guys, bear with me. But yeah, so what do you feel are your um what would you like to accomplish in the next 5 years? How about that?
Oh, in the next 5 years,
Where would you like to be?
that's a nice interview question.
Right?
Well, let's see. So I think, and it's crazy because you know, it's kind of hard actually. It's kind of hard to answer that question with everything that's been going on lately, because I feel like the world is changing so much. And my goals, you know, I love to travel. To me, traveling, that's, you know, if there's one thing that keeps me in alignment, it's traveling. Yeah, traveling. I mean, it's the thing that, you know, if I'm depressed, I travel. If I'm happy, I travel. If I'm, you know, I'm bored, I like to travel. So any reason is
It's good to travel.
travel, yeah. So for me, that was like, my goal is to find a purpose, find my mission in a way that I can travel as I work on my mission. But obviously, yeah, and lately it's been a little bit you know, a little bit discouraging, everything, that the whole situation. So we'll see how that turns out. But that's my, you know, I don't have a specific a specific goal yet, because I'm still looking for my purpose. But that's you know, I think I see myself basically using my creativity and um, creating something that's, you know, beneficial to the world, to people, and that involves traveling and seeing other cultures, being you know, not being in the same place all the time. And that's kind of my goal. So it's still in the process of, like, I'm still every day I get hints of how, you know, how I can achieve it. And there's actually a project that I'm working on that's, you know, it's still young, it's still in the young
Incubating phase.
incubating phase, so I won't talk about it right yet, but
when you're ready.
when I'm ready, I'll definitely share more.
Let us know. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much how I see it. I don't have I guess it's not a specific
Definitive,
goal,
yeah.
but yeah.
But it makes sense to me, and I guess like one of the reasons why I'm asking is because It's exactly that, because a lot of times, you know, we, even let's say before COVID, like we would have plans and we say, okay, let's say for example, in 5 years, this is where I want to be. I want to be making this much money. I want to have this. I want to be living here, whatever, whatever. And then the way that we go about it is that, you know, it's like you'll come up with the plan and you're like, okay, well, that means I need to go at it this way and this way and this way. And then you kind of go through different milestones. But with what I've been learning with like my spiritual guides and my team of people is that, you know, for you to really enjoy those things is once you're able to identify what the things are, COVID or no COVID, once you're able to identify what your ideal self will be like in, let's say, 5 years, then you have to now extract the underlying emotions and feelings of that vision. And then once you're able to put a name or a word to that feeling, so let's say, for example, it's, you know, with you it's traveling, but let's say like in 5 years you want to be traveling, like, I don't know, 24/7, whatever it is. And so when you're extracting the emotions behind that or the feelings behind that, it's freedom, it's ease, it's fun, it's joy, it's yeah, all of that, you know, you name it. And so then you bring them, then you want to ground those feelings in your everyday life, meaning now you have to identify, okay, what are the things that I'm doing that brings me joy, that brings me fun, that brings me freedom, that sense of freedom. And then you identify all the things that you do or that you have done that brought you that, but also the things that you're doing currently that do not bring you that, because now you know that, you know, you have to reduce those things, right? And then, so then the more that you do those things, because again, it's just themes. And you know, creation kind of likes to create in a very abstract way. And it's like, if you give it themes rather than saying this, then it's like, oh, let me find the best way that I can blow her mind. And oh, freedom, you say freedom? Girl, you don't even know about freedom. Let me show you what freedom is, you know? And then every time he gives you like a little, like a little gift of freedom, you're like, oh, thank you, I want more of this, you know? This is like one of the things that I've been doing. I always say, oh, thank you, like this is exactly what I've been asking for. Or like I'm laughing. And even you know, with our mutual friends, every time we laugh, every time we share something special, I don't tell them, and maybe I should too. I'll tell them next time. But I've been using those moments to be grateful for them, and, you know, confirming like, yeah, this is exactly how I want to be feeling, you know, every time with anybody. And these are great moments and I'm grateful for them and I'm thankful for them. And yes, bring me more of this, bring me more of this. And I have found that I'm able to bring all those feelings like literally everywhere with me now, you know, and I don't particularly have to be like a certain way. It's just like, I feel like there's just like more of it, and it has become a natural state and a natural experience of it, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's the right way to go about it, because you can't create freedom, let's say, from a place of being stuck all the time.
Exactly.
Because if you're, you know, usually if you're looking for something, you're looking to create freedom, it's because you feel, you know, you don't want to feel stuck.
Exactly.
So but you can't, like, you have to, like you say, like, you know, grab each moment that you find in your daily life where you're actually feeling that emotion that brings you that feeling, just grab it and like just, you know, milk it.
Exactly. I was gonna say immerse it, milk it. Milk it is proper.
Yeah. Because that's, and then at some point, I think you just, when you get into that mindset, at some point in your life, you just wake up one morning and you realize that you actually have everything that you wanted.
Exactly.
It didn't happen according to the plan that you had in your mind, that you thought, like, you know, A, B, C, D was going to bring you to E. Like, it just happened in a way that you never would have thought, never would have imagined, honestly. Like, that's, but that's the, I guess, that's the hardest part from before you're like in that state, is like going from a state of, you know, being in your daily life to getting into that state where you're just like noticing, because once you're in it, it just happens so fast. Like things happen, like something can happen like in 2 weeks. Like you're gonna have stuff can change for you like completely. Your life can turn upside down in like 2 weeks. And yeah, but it's really being in that state, and that's a good reminder.
Yeah,
A really good
yeah.
reminder.
It's fun. Like I've been really in like, but like you said, like in the beginning I was just like, oh my God. Or it would just say for an hour or not even an hour and I'd be like, okay, whatever. But now that I've been, it's reconditioning. Really, it's like reconditioning because we're not conditioned to do that. We're not taught how to do that. But if you take the time to recondition yourself, it's like you're doing the quote unquote work now, but then the ripples, like the gifts that you're gonna create and receive are just like so huge that it's like, why do you not want to take at least 5 minutes, in the morning to shift your focus and just see how things align for you, like why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah, that's major.
Yeah.
One thing that is really easy to do that I've been doing for a while is when you go to bed, you just
Mm-hmm.
think of three things that happened during your day that you feel like thankful for, like three good things that happened during your day, and then you wake up and you just think of the thing that you're most grateful of, like grateful for, like in your life, just in
Yeah,
general. And that's so like it's so powerful
it
just doing
is.
this, but it's discipline.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's like I do that because in the evening it's like the momentum is slowing down and like everything about you is slowing down basically. And it's like, okay, it's almost like planting a seed for, tomorrow, whoever Candy of tomorrow, whoever Andra of tomorrow is gonna be. And then in the morning when you wake up, the momentum hasn't picked up yet. So then you're saying, hey, let me put this in the momentum because this is what I actually want in my day today,
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so you're building that throughout your day, and then yeah, eventually it just becomes a natural state. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's actually the same thing with, like, if you have like affirmations. I don't know if you do you
Mm-hmm.
do affirmations that you just read?
No, I've never done affirmations.
No.
No, I know it works for some people. I think affirmations are great, but now that I think about it, I think like I don't know. No, I don't think so. I don't think I've done affirmations. I was like, maybe I did, and I'm like, no, not really.
Who knows? As long as whatever you're doing is working, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what were you gonna say
Yeah.
about affirmations?
No, it's the same thing. I mean, like, I have my affirmations next to my bed, and first
Mm,
thing in the morning when I wake up, before first thing, like as soon as I open my eyes, like, is the first thing I do, just read my affirmations.
mm,
And they're not just like, because I wasn't really, I started affirmations recently because I was never really into that, but I created mine. Like, it's not just some random stuff that I picked up like on the internet.
mm-hmm.
Because sometimes you find like those ready-made affirmations and you're like, oh yeah, I would like that and that, but I feel like they have to resonate with you. Like,
With you,
I
yeah.
did mine like during meditation. I was meditating and they were just coming to me, like how I would like to feel, or how I would like they're more like related to how I want to feel.
Mm,
So I find like that's more like they speak to me because they come from they come from my higher self. So
mm-hmm.
they really they're more. I would say I think they're more efficient than if I would have just like taken any affirmations like from the internet or from
Mm-hmm.
a book or something.
But see, this is like what I was gonna say about affirmations. Like for me, I've never done them. Um, they have never really resonated with me. However, I do know the power of words. And again, like the way that the subconscious mind works, um, like you really need to, not that you need to, but like if you want to live a certain type of experience or have a certain type of a human experience, you do have to get to know your subconscious mind, or at least your psyche, and how you work and what are the things that makes your psyche. And so affirmations, like you're saying that you do them in the morning, and that's when your mind is still kind of relaxed. And I don't know if there's anyone who's listening who's been trying to do affirmations and it hasn't been working for them. But if it hasn't been working for you, try to do them in the morning, like Andra, when that whole, I don't know, what do you call it?
The hamster wheel hasn't
Thank
started yet.
you.
Hasn't started
Exactly.
spinning yet.
Exactly. Because you're still in that sleepy type of state, but you're also awake, which is like in hypnosis, we call that, it's a light hypnosis state.
Mm.
And so you're more your psyche and your subconscious mind is more open to receiving and accepting those affirmations than if you were to do them, I don't know, on your lunch break after being stressed out in like the whole morning trying to do something, and then you're trying to tell yourself that you're brave and you're this and you're that. It's gonna work, but it's just gonna be like a lot of work and a lot of contrast, and it's not gonna be a sense of ease. So
that's true, yeah.
you know
No, because I noticed that I took a picture of them and I have them on my phone, so sometimes like I would be at work and like just read them, and
yeah,
like you say, contrast, like you just get annoyed because I'm like, no, I'm not there yet.
I know. Yeah, you're like, no, that's not me, what you say?
Yeah. So in the morning, even before bed, like,
Exactly.
it's a good time to do it.
Yeah, just whenever you're the most at ease. Yeah.
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 And sorry, I cut you off. So you were,
No,
'cause you were
that's
saying,
pretty much it. Like just when you don't have any resistance, and look at those affirmations, and like even for you, like let's say if it was like in the middle of the day, but you're having a conversation with a colleague and you're like, oh my god, you're laughing or you're having fun, look at your affirmations afterwards,
mm-hmm.
because you're in a state of acceptance and no resistance, and so they're gonna hit you even more.
That's true. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah.
That's a really good
You
point.
just don't look at them when you're in a state of resistance, because then you're just reminding yourself that you're not that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're
Yeah.
going to look for every opportunity to just confirm that you're not that. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, you are, but right now you don't see it. So let's not focus on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So just like most of my guests, that I connect with, I feel like we can talk for hours and hours. And I think it's been at least an hour now. So
Yeah, I don't know. Probably a little
I
bit
think it
more.
has. I think it has. We're very close to. So is there anything that you would like your last word for this episode?
My last word, I think it's well, your the podcast is in alignment, I think, and you were asking me about how to how do I what it means for me, and I think one thing too is really like it's about loving, like the most important thing is really like loving yourself and loving everything, that's like loving all aspects of you. I think that's like, and love is not just like saying, oh, I love myself, or like, I don't know, giving yourself a hug. It's not even that. It's just like accepting it. It's just like allowing it to be there. Like that's that's love. Like allowing yourself to feel a certain way. Like that's what it is. Like it's just like you would allow your friend to have a certain feeling. Just do that for yourself, and that's I think for for your self development, that's like the best thing you can do. One of the best things you can do.
I agree. With coming back to what I mentioned, about extracting those feelings and then grounding them in the moments. Like for me, I realized that exfoliating my body is one of the ways that I show myself love, because I'm taking the time to do that and to make myself feel like better. And then my body, because I like taking showers. I love being like, I could be in showers like forever. I love water, but exfoliating is that one more step where I'm like, it's almost like subconscious, I'm telling myself, okay, I'm making time for you, Canny, let me take care of you. And so that's one of the ways that I show myself love.
Oh.
And yeah.
Well, that's no, that if that like whatever works for you, like whatever, like if that's how you feel, like that's your way. That's
yeah. And
that's what
I
you
didn't
gotta
even
do.
know that. I didn't even know that until I was in meditation, and my people were asking me this, and then I was like, oh, when I exfoliate, is that what it means? Is that what I'm doing? I was like, my God. And then I was like in awe with myself, of course. And I was like, oh my God, I love you so much, Candy. Thank you for taking this time. But it's almost like my body thanking me, and I'm giving a voice to my body to thank me for taking the time to take care of it. And yeah, it's just a beautiful process. Like there's so much magic to be felt, to be experienced, and to be found and created. Then that's kind of what I want to do, and that's what I want to focus on, finding the magic and sharing it.
Yeah, the possibilities are endless.
Endless, literally. Yeah. So thank you so much for your time, Andra. I
Thank you.
appreciate you taking the time to talk with us, to share yourself, and
It was really nice to be here. Thank you so
yes,
much for having me. And
we shall connect again.
as usual, it was always a great conversation.
Yes, I feel that way too, and it really energized me. And you are one of those people that I feel you confirm also my path, and you confirm, you know, what I've came here to share and to do. So I'm very like I legit am grateful for you, honestly.
I'm grateful for you too. And I'm so happy that we reconnected.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
So thank you again, everybody, for joining us for another In Alignment podcast, and we shall see you in the next one.